Zaxbys, indescribably good.
Hello, Walton Raider fans, and welcome to the 2013 Walton High School Football Preview Show, otherwise known as the Rocky Hidalgo Show, season number 5, Rocky, of the award-winning Rocky Hidalgo Show. Yeah. I mean, the trophies are lined up in terms of our winnings for all the coaches' shows. We're the envy of all the other shows in Georgia and, frankly, now across the Southeast. And I chalk most of it up to the in-depth analysis that we've been able to provide these last 5 years for all of our fans. And they've signed us up. We're back again.
There we go.
So, and well, as always, the show is sponsored by Zaxbys with 2 locations in East Cobb, and we appreciate it. And as you can see, we've already taken care of the Zaxbys food here tonight, but we're ready to talk high school football, Walton Raider style. It's about time. It seems like it's been a long, long time since that Parkview game, but that was then, and this is now. Let's talk about 2013. So, Rocky, just kind of a quick, before we get into a little bit more in depth, but just kind of your feeling about those first 2 weeks of practice that you've had.
You know, it's been good. We're developing. I mean, we have a lot of young players at positions. I think as a whole, we have a lot of inexperienced players playing. So not only do we have to learn how to play in a game, we have to learn how to practice. So we're learning how to practice with tempo, run to this spot, learning the drills. There's a lot of that stuff that's going on. But the kids have been good. I think our older kids have really, they've got a great attitude. We have great chemistry with this group of kids. I think our kids play together. I think you see them go out there and they respond. When we push them and when we push them to go harder or go one more play, I think we get great response from them. And I think we've had 2 good weeks of practice.
You open the Dome on the 24th, 11:45 a.m. start, so that's a little different for the Walton Raiders. We won't be there at 11:45 p.m.
That's right.
But as you're shooting and moving towards that Peachtree Ridge game, are you now moving from kind of determining who plays where towards more of a game planning session here as you end up this week and go into next week?
You know, we try to go into the season, you hope by the first game you have all your pieces in place.
Right.
Anytime you have a group like this where you have, 5 new offensive line starters, a new tight end, new tailbacks, new wide receivers, new guys in the secondary, you're still trying to figure out where those pieces are all going to fit together. We're still looking at a couple of guys here or there at some spots. We think we have the right idea about personnel, but a lot of times we go in the first game, we think we do, and we don't realize it until game 2, 3, or 4. So it's kind of a crapshoot, really, want to know the truth. But right now, our main focus is starting to get ready for Peachtree Ridge and learn some X's and O's and kind of put together the schemes on paper and bring it out to practice and learn the kids. Hopefully, the kids will learn to execute.
So when you deal with a season like last year where you have 2 of your better players, star players, with Tyron and Parker getting hurt, you have replacements that come in and get a lot of playing time. Bryce Wilson at quarterback, DJ Smith came in at running back. Very talented athletes, great players. Now, move the clock ahead. Suddenly, I've got 2 experienced players at a position where who would have ever thought that they would have gotten any playing time last year, but the injuries kind of turned that and changed that.
Right. DJ is still playing in the secondary for us, and we're kind of using him in some different spots on offense. Our goal is to get him the ball 10 to 15 times a game on offense, and we think we can do that. We think we have some capable tailbacks back there. But the experience that Price gained last year was incredibly important. It shows this year he's really developed. His pocket presence has developed. He moves around the pocket much better than he did at this point last year. I think a lot of that was because he was probably under such duress because we had, 4 sophomore linemen playing because of the injuries on the offensive line. So he's learned to kind of sit in there and hunker down, and we found out last year he can take a hit.
We'll talk about that offensive line because you mentioned in one of the articles that I read over the summer, you kind of threw these young guys to the wolves, but now it's just a similar type scenario. You have juniors who have had an enormous amount of playing experience, and what kind of impact have you seen that have on the offensive line in the first couple of weeks of practice?
We're getting there with those guys. It's offensive line play is the last component when you're young to kind of come around. It's the hardest thing to get that continuity, that chemistry, to build that. What we have right now is we have, on any given play, we have 5 guys doing the right thing and then one guy kind of screwing it up. And that comes with time, maturity, and experience. I think what we found last year is a lot of those guys got experience last year, but it wasn't like they were playing together as a group. An offensive line is kind of like an a cappella group. They have to kind of work together and all be in tune and harmony. And we're not quite there yet. I think we have good players there, and every day we get a little better, but we're learning how to. We're still young. We're learning how to finish blocks, how to go compete through the whistle, and those are things that just take time and a little bit of patience. I don't have a lot of patience, but it takes a little bit of patience. Those guys kind of have to develop on their own pace. And we get a little better every day at practice, and we see some improvement with them, and we're getting there. I think it's going to be a good group that we have up front when it's all said and done. But we're probably going to be a little inconsistent early in the season.
On the defensive side of the ball, last year when we were talking, a lot of inexperienced players. You lost a ton of players to college football the year before. Now, similar situation. A lot of these guys got a little bit of baptism under fire last year. You have a lot of team speed on the defensive side of the ball. You're a former defensive coordinator. How would you rate your defense right now?
I think this is going to be a very good defense. And what we've done is we moved our 2 corners from last year to safety, and we have 2 new corners in there. Maybe the most talented secondary we've ever had, but we're inexperienced. Our safeties who played a lot at corner play in different positions.
Right.
Our corners are new. They've never played on Friday nights. So I think even though we have talent, we have some inexperience back there, and we're going to have to, kind of like the offensive line, we're going to have to learn how to play together, communicate. Communication is very important back there in the secondary, and if one of those guys screws it up, you're likely to give up a touchdown.
Right.
But our front 7, I'm really excited about our front 7. I think Drayon and Kyle Whitaker are 2 very, very dynamic high school football players. We've got our linebackers back, of the 5 guys that really played for us last year, we've got those guys back, 5 of the 6 guys back, and they've done a great job kind of getting the team, getting them lined up, leading from not only just almost like being another coach on the field, but also just setting the tone when we hit the sideline, when we hit the field, about how to run to the football, how to pursue the ball. So I expect us to be good, very good on defense at some point in time this season.
Special teams in high school, they turn over all the time. You kickers and punters. What is your situation right now, and who looks to be emerging to take some of the jobs in the special teams?
Christian Lucas is a kid who's kicked for us in the past a little bit, and he's come back out, and he's doing really well kicking field goals and kicking off. We're still working on, it's one of those things. It's, we're still trying to get the ball in the end zone a little bit with consistency.
Right.
Every day he kicks, he gets a little more leg kicking, as you know. The more you kick, the stronger that leg gets.
Right.
And he's kind of getting back in tune to doing that stuff, and he's starting to really drive the ball in the end zone. But I think our kicking game is going to be very solid. We have a lot of young kickers. We had a lot of kids come out from our soccer program to kick, and we've got 4 or 5 really, really good kickers kind of throughout the program. So I'm excited about that. Our punter will be Hutton Spittler this year, and Hutton's a kid who was a backup punter for us last year, also plays wide receiver, good athlete. We're going to do some things with him, and we've been working a little bit with rugby punt and changing our punt scheme, and we'll see how it goes. He's a former quarterback. He can do some different things. We'll just kind of have to see, what we're good at and what we're not good at back there, but I feel like we'll be solid right there.
The schedule this year only has really 4 home games here at Raider Valley. You open up at the Dome, and you play Hillgrove the next weekend at McEachern. As part of that showcase, you've got a week off, and then you have your first home game against North Cobb. 4 home games, North Cobb, Lassiter, Wheeler, Roswell. You get a lot of rivalry games here. But is that even something you give any thought to, or is it just more of what we've always talked about in the past? I play who's ever in front of me. We'll go play them wherever we want, and then we'll take care of business and move on to the next week.
I know everybody at home probably thinks the whole scheduling is one of the things we all sit down in a room and it's well thought out and all that thing. And literally, scheduling happens in high school sports when they announce our regions. Everybody is scrambling to get games. If it's like musical chairs.
Right.
If you don't have your games filled up, your slots filled up in the first couple of hours, you're left looking for a game anywhere. And so when you look at that, we're just trying to get in. We know kind of how many region games we're going to have, and then we basically that's up to the region secretary to set the schedule, how we're going to play. The coaches will get together and determine if we're going to have an off week, when the off week is going to be, all of those things. But really, that's drawn out of a hat. So there's not a whole bunch that we can do about that. Who's going to be home? Who's going to be away? It's just those non-region games that we have control over, and we try to I know there are guys out there that don't always have 5 home games. You might be 4 one year and 6 the next, because the way the luck of the draw runs out, and you're trying to scramble to get a game, and the guy you're trying to get is looking for a home game, and you got to make a concession. So, we don't worry about that too much. Really, I'm trying to get 10 games and not get locked out of the
playoffs,
locked out of the door,
right.
and just get in there and just move forward, and whoever shows up, just line up and hopefully get a great effort by the kids.
But another opportunity for Walton Raiders to play at the Georgia Dome, which is always a special moment, and then part of that East Cobb West Cobb matchup. So, I mean, it's really one of those situations when you're good, people want you to come places to play.
You know, it's like this, and we could very easily go out and try to find 2 or 3 bad teams and pad our schedule like that. But, you know, when you have success, bad teams that aren't real good, they don't really want to play you. They don't want to show up and get beat 50-0. Those coaches are trying to find wins, so they want to find somebody whose program might be struggling or on the rebound. So it's not easy for a school like a Walton or North Gwinnett or Grayson to go out and find just some guys to throw to the wolves. And so, you know, it's one of those things we feel like we want to go out there, and by week 3 of the season, we'll kind of know who we can compete against and who we can't, and we will have seen teams that are as athletic as anybody in the state of Georgia. We'll see teams with size. We'll see teams with speed, and I think going in the region play, if we can kind of come out of those games healthy, we'll gain some valuable experience and set ourselves up for a chance to win the region championship.
One of the things that we've talked about over the years is how the role of a high school coach has changed, and I know that when my sons played for Coach Dudley and then now working with you, Rocky, that it's just not about coaching football anymore. There's just the involvement across a broad spectrum of duties, frankly. Booster Club's a big part of that. You sit basically in the Booster Club meetings. Parent involvement's key. Got anything kind of to say right now to the new parents? Because I think we have a great tradition here at Walton of people are involved, and that's one of the things that makes us successful.
I think if you look at our program since 1996, we've done about $2 million worth of new construction, renovation, and maintenance. And without the Walton Touchdown Club, Walton High School would not be what it is today. And I tell our parents and our kids, we go out and sell Raider cards, or we sell program ads, or join in the Booster Club. The people, the people that played here a decade ago, 15 years ago, Rob Ebel and Rob Nichols and Doug Shaw, those guys raised money so that we could have that football field house. The guys prior to that were raising money to have that football field house. They never got to set foot in it.
Right.
And if those guys had to sell Raider cards and do fundraisers and go down to raise that money so we can have something nice today, the guys today owe it to the players in the future to go back and find ways to improve the program. We're always looking to try to have a vision. I believe that we need to have a long-range plan with what we do here, and always want to try to improve the program. And so and from a touchdown standpoint, we need parents to come in. It's not always just about writing a check. It's about showing up and making sure that, there's the weeds in the stadium are sprayed down with Roundup. Mm-hmm. Or if you walk through the stadium and see trash, just pick it up, because not only does that represent Walton High School, but it represents our community when people come here and there's Powerade bottles laying on the ground down there. So I think that involvement goes much more than just the Touchdown Club. We want everybody involved here in giving their time and effort to the Touchdown Club. But even beyond that, what you just see here at the school, this is our school, and really and truly, Walton High School is the center of this community. I don't think you can deny that. It's right. Very unique about that, about how the community, how much pride this community has in this high school, our football program. And in most large school systems, you do not see that. It's a very unique situation we have here in East Cobb.
Well, and the community rallied around the SPLOST earlier this year, and we'll begin to see some of the construction take place later on this year, I think, at the high school, and it's going to completely change this school, and what a great event that'll be. Coach, before we go, I think it's also important that one of the key elements of success that we've had here is just the consistency of your coaching staff. I mean, my oldest son played for the same coaches that are out there on the field now, and seeing Coach Imperial and Coach Allen, Coach Bellis, that consistency and that dedication has just got to make a big difference for you.
You know what it does, and people don't realize this because they come and and I say this, parents kind of come through the program as their kids are here, and when you're here, you really don't take notice of that. But it's when you're gone, like you said, 2, 3, 4, 5 years, and those same coaches are still here working with them. You kind of start to realize that you have some perspective on it. I think what it does is it enables our football program to kind of weather good times and bad times, good games and bad games. I think my second year, we came out and we started 1-3, and after the first year we started 6-0 and lost the last 4, didn't make the playoffs. A lot of people really would have panicked and done those things, but honestly, as coaches, we just kind of looked at each other and said, hey, we're going to go to work. We're going to coach this team. We're going to get better. We knew we had a good football team somewhere in there. that we just had to keep developing, and eventually would get there. I think what you saw the next year is when we had the run to the state championship game. The one thing you can say about that team is they were so very consistent for 14 great weeks of the school for the season, and we didn't play great in the state championship game. I think our coaches did a great job of maintaining a certain level of expectations of the kid, and making sure that we weren't distracted with the fact that we were undefeated and people were talking about us potentially playing for a state championship. And I think that a lot of that goes, we had great players, but our coaches did a great job managing their kids at the wide receiver group, at the quarterback group, at the linebacker group. And I think that comes with just a lot of experience. We've got a lot of guys who've coached in a lot of big football games, a lot of playoff games. The staff's coached in 3 semifinal games, a state championship game. Together, we've won 7 or 8 region championships, something like that. They've coached a lot of great football, a lot of great football teams. They know how to do their job, and I think that's the one thing that you can see from these guys, and what it means to our football program that they're out there, pulling in the same direction.
Well, the Raiders open up at the Georgia Dome on Saturday, August 24th at 11:45 a.m. against Peachtree Ridge. It'll be a great game. Schools that have similar traditions and similar football programs, always a great chance, a great way to kind of spend your Saturday afternoon watching the Raiders, and then they go on the road one more time. They play Hillgrove. And then finally, after a couple of weeks and a break, we come home and play North Cobb. But, the one thing I can say, Rocky, is it pays to be involved and to stay involved. All of you that support and watch Raider Vision, we appreciate you, and we're quite honestly proud to say there's not a single dad that's involved with this who has a child in the program. And it's just part of what Walton did and Walton football meant for our kids and what it means for the community at large. So I'd encourage all of you, get involved, stay involved, and be part of the Walton Raider family. So we'll see you at the Georgia Dome on August 24th when the Raiders play Peachtree Ridge. Until then, I'm Kurt Schreiner. This has been show number 1 of the 5th year of the Rocky Hidalgo Show. We'll see you at the Dome.